call to order our December 7th, 2022 regular meeting for Tubman Elementary's LSC. I'm going to do roll call. Mr. Hall. Ms. Holbert.
Here, present.
Lori. Cynthia.
Here.
Cindy. Robert.
I think it's name and position. Yeah. So Rob Dagnew.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thank
Cynthia
you, Robert.
Chernoff, parent representative.
Teamwork. Robert.
Rob Dagnew, community rep.
Ms. Brooks.
Sharice Brooks, paraprofessional.
Michael.
Michael Weinstock, parent rep.
Sarah.
Sarah Ogato, parent rep.
May.
May McGannon, student rep.
Principal Gibson. And I'm here, so we have quorum, having 8 members of our council present for the meeting. Before we continue, since Cindy, which is our secretary, is not here, I would ask if any of you would like to volunteer to take notes on our meeting tonight, please. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah will take notes tonight. Our next point in the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Any discussion? So I motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Robert. The agenda is approved. Our next point is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Any discussion about that?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, Cynthia. Cynthia, can you propose it again?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hulbert. Our next point are the reports. Our first report is the school report. So I believe Michael. Excuse me, Ms. Moore. Yes, Michael?
Sorry, I think do we need a vote on approval?
I'm sorry. Guys, I went on a field trip today.
No worries.
Okay. Let's vote on the approval of the minutes, or on the agenda first, right? Okay, so let's vote. Cynthia.
Yes.
Ms. Holbert.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Ms. Brooks.
Yes.
May.
Yes.
And it's yes from me too. So the agenda is approved. Now we're going to vote on the approval of the minutes. Robert.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Cynthia.
Yes.
Ms. Brooks.
Yes.
May.
Yes.
Ms. Holbert.
Yes.
And it's a yes from me too. So the minutes from our previous meeting are approved. Now we move on to the reports. Our first one is the school report. Good evening, Ms. Moore. All yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be providing the school report. Just 1 second. Okay, the Tubman LSC updates. This is our mission. our vision. And our hopes and aspiration for the school year 22-23, we want to strengthen communication among all stakeholders, our Bulldog Blast for staff and communities, as well as weekly classroom communications to all families. We want to increase the SEL programs and involvement school-wide. That includes our school-wide second step in Come Classroom. We want strong systems and structures for our teacher leaders and teachers teams to collaborate, weekly grade level team meetings, quarterly extended planning, and additional planning meetings with our IB coordinators. We want to acclimate our new staff to the culture and climate through ongoing team building and mentorship programs. New teachers receive support during their weekly meetings with the PYP and the NYP coordinators. And we want to continue to build inclusive relationships with students, staffs, and families. Our CIWP priorities and goals, they are the same. We have not updated them as of yet. This is the school year in which we will be updating our goals and priorities. Strategy 1 is social emotional learning. Strategy 2 is MTSS. Strategy 3 is our student voice and engagement. And strategy 4 is curriculum. Harriet Tubman and IB World School. Resourcing our vision and strategies at the school level using our budget resources. We have the interventionist position for K through 8, new restorative justice coordinator, professional development staff have attended the Chicago Literacy Group workshops this week. Our primary team, professional learning, all general education teachers in K through 2 have attended either the Wilson Foundations or the Chicago Literacy Group professional development, and it was focused on building the foundation, teaching, phonemic awareness, decoding, spelling, and vocabulary trainings, with a plan to continue training our staff in foundational practices. Additional staff is attending the Wilson Foundations training. We have had our Envision math training for K through 5th teachers that occurred on October 18th, and for our middle school teachers that took place on December the 1st. Our ILT focused on inquiry-based learning, student perspectives, and SEL supports by examining instructional units for formative and summative assessments and planning for unit design supportive of students. We have our dual track for our world language in 6th through 8th grade with the independent study component embedded within their schedules. MTSS have co-leads this year. They are part of professional learning communities, and they attend monthly and bi-monthly meetings. Also this year, Tubman was the recipient of the Congressional Earmarks Grant for our Fine Arts Department in the amount of $83,333. We have submitted the proposal in regards to how we would like to use these funds. This was in collaboration with the admin team and our fine arts teachers. Our monthly reports. Our IB coordinators wasn't able to attend tonight's meeting, so I will give the report. Teachers meet. They met after school for extended planning in November, and the focus was on collaboration with specialists, as well as planning for our upcoming units of inquiry. The Tubman Bulldog Buddies came together in November for Kindness Day and created kindness posters, which if you have been in the building, they have been displayed on the first floor. In December, Buddies will be learning about Human Rights Days and create wishes for the world to share with one another. Ms. Perillis and Ms. Vincent participated in a district IB coordinators meeting on November the 7th. And the focus was building relationship among IB schools across the district, as well as program continuum planning with IB schools in Network 4. Network 4 IB schools include Tubman, we have the PYP and NYP program, and Lincoln Park High School, NYP, that they have the DP as well as the CB program. NYP teachers and specialists are working with Ms. Vincent to submit work for our preliminary documents review. As you know, we are in our evaluation year, and our evaluation for the NYP program will take place May 2023. I'm not sure if Ms. Beaker joined us as of yet. Do you see her on? Okay, well, I'll give the counselor updates as well. The social emotional learning, our counselor has been providing the classroom lessons for K through 2. The focus has been overcoming obstacles, kindness, listening, and grades 3 through 5th. It was the success bound, importance of attendance, understanding grades. And then 6th through 8th, she's working with the Naviance introduction and the high school application process. Academics, she's working with the 8th grade on test taking strategies as well as on the GO CPS application process, which closes on tomorrow. And we do have a 93% completion rate of our 8th graders that have applied to high schools. And we have 3 that did not. That's because they are leaving the district. And also she's working with our career on the community partners. We had the Junior Achievement Day for K through 2 students already, and we're looking to expand that program to all other grade levels. And Ms. Holbert will take the PPLC update.
Sorry, bear with me. My screen, my camera's on one and my microphone's on the other because it's always an adventure. Okay. For the PPLC, we're still undergoing some literacy curriculum renewal discussions. So we surveyed the staff on our current literacy practices and using that data collection, literacy and literature programs utilized at, well, we have our data collection, and then Ms. Perlis is also doing some digging into what other CPS and IB schools are doing and using. And similarly, even just yesterday, a few of us were at this professional development and met a handful of other teachers. So just really trying to be thoughtful and reflective about next steps as it relates to literacy, especially with the primary grades. Also coordinating with Network 4, ISL. There was a visit to present information on a variety of curriculum options. So that's kind of like our big focus right now. We also updated our PD recommendations for the remainder of the school year to reflect progress. And our next meeting is on the 22nd of December at 3 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Holbert. Our financial transactions, as you know, our AIC has been taking care of various needs that we need here at the school. And these are some of the budget transfers that have taken place from November 3rd through December the 1st. There was a bucket open for office support and security for $5,000. There was a transfer of funds back to a pointer line for $1,500. There was a laptop for me. Hopefully my laptop don't go out on you as I'm doing this presentation for $2,681.79. There was a transfer of funds of $1,500 for technology. And we're looking at purchasing of literacy materials for $6,658.92. And then as the professional development took place for our primary teachers, that was for $6,000. We had leasing of copiers, and it was for $4,220. And it was also included in this amount was a lot of late fees, which we had to take care of. And then supplies for our STLS students for $265.02. Maintenance for our copiers, that was $3,100.68. And then we now have school-wide radios and walkie-talkies. That was $2,631.77. And we had to order key fobs for the staff, and that came to $597.73. Those are all of the school updates for the month of December. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Before we go to the FOT report, are there any questions from the council regarding the report? Michael?
Hi, thank you. I had a few questions, but I'll maybe just start with like two and then let other people ask a few questions. I really do appreciate all the detail. I thought this was fantastic to see much more drilling into what's happening. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the speed and effectiveness that you reviewed the information. So thank you very much for that. I did have a question on the fine arts grant. I was hoping maybe the LSC could get a little bit more detail on that separately, but maybe for now, just like a quick description on what the plan is. I didn't know anything about that unless maybe I missed a communication or something. And then the other question I had was with the math curriculum and some of the PD that's occurred at the start of the year, there were comments in some of these meetings about staff not being comfortable with their level of training with the curriculum. I was hoping maybe you could just give your perspective on what you think the level of comfort is now, both that they've had to teach it a little bit and have gotten some additional PD, professional development. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michael. In regards to the grant was awarded to us. I don't know who submitted our names. I just know that I received the email stating that Tubman was the recipient of the grant. And under the directions of our network chief, who is present here on the call with us this evening, she did give me the autonomy to speak with our fine arts department in regards to the utilization of the grant. And immediately, one of the biggest concerns they wanted to buy a lot of things for the auditorium to get the auditorium ready for dance shows and things of that sort. So we do have included in the grant, a lot of the funding is going towards capital improvement. But Michael, we can definitely share our proposal to the council if that is a request. And in regards to the math curriculum, I think that the teachers' level of comfort is they're feeling a lot more comfortable with using the materials now. There's still a lot of collaboration that's going on with the programs. And I noticed that as I'm going in doing the classroom observations, a lot of the teachers are using math for me to view and observe during their observations. But Emily, do you have any concerns in regards to the math programs?
No, I would just echo what, am I echoing right now?
No, you're fine.
No. Yeah, I was going to echo what you're saying, which is that we feel more comfortable than I think we did in the beginning due to the additional PDs. And like Michael said, just getting our feet wet a little bit more. It is the first time some of us are teaching it. So there is that sort of caveat, but we're learning as we go. And there's a lot of great features and the students really are liking it. So yeah, I think we're on our way, and I'll be interested to see, in the future what it looks like after using this program for a little while.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah? Robert, let's go to you until Sarah comes back.
Thank you. Michael stole a bunch of mine. I just want to echo the depth and detail I value significantly here. It helps me understand like the sorts of things that the school was working on, and I feel better equipped as an LSC member for that. So thank you for putting that together. The question I had, it was more for you, Ms. Holbert, related to this PD notion. You talked about how you sort of revised what those PD recommendations are for 22-23. I was wondering if you could even just speak at a very high level about what some of those updated recommendations are for PD, or what some of the things that the staff are looking for in terms of the remainder of the school year.
Excuse me, Ms. Holbert, before you answer, Robert, I love that question, but since we're not, part of our agenda is not talking about like modifications or recommendations about the PD, if Ms. Holbert could be like general in her answer, and we could include that as a specific item for our next meeting, so we can talk more in depth of those trainings at what's going on, what recommendations we can have.
That works out perfectly because I was unable to attend the last PPLC meeting. So it works out better for Mr. Hall to speak to it when he comes back next time. But from my understanding, it is some literacy stuff that Miss Moore spoke to earlier, just putting an emphasis on teachers going to PDs and, going to different ones like she mentioned, so that we can bring together kind of everyone's different experiences and talk about what the pros and cons are of each different, PDs and curriculums and things of that nature. So from my understanding, it's just more literacy focused PDs at this point in time.
Thank you, Sarah.
I apologize for my internet connection. I just maybe I'll piggyback off of what I believe the question was asked about professional development. I noted, and I still do want to echo the sentiment that Michael shared just about the level of brevity and transparency around the report. Thank you so much for that. It's very, very, very helpful. And with that said, I did have a follow-up question as it relates to PD. I noted in the top of the report there was a reference to additional staff for Wilson. Can AP Moore, can you just speak a little bit about who are those additional personnel members? And I think that's great to be as inclusive as possible to get other key stakeholders engaged in our literacy program. So just curious about that. And I do have two other questions, but they're not related, so I'll pause.
They are current DL teachers. They are going through the Wilson Certified Training. It's fourth grade teacher, Ms. Brickta, and our third grade teacher, Ms. Seabrooks.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I know there were some questions around the funding for the PD support, specifically around the vision training. And there was some earlier conversations about just being able to kind of extend some of those training supports to families. Any updates on the possibility of helping families to kind of unpack the mystery around some of the math curriculum, or plans for that matter, just at least discussions? I think that would be great. And then I'll just ask my other question, which was just you mentioned in the budget breakdown late fees. Were those fees preventable? Can you speak a little bit about that? And do they carry over? Will we have to continue kind of dealing with late fees, and how can we kind of be in front of that than behind that? Thank you.
In regards to the training for families, this is something I could definitely bring back to our Tubman leadership team so that we can discuss the possible options so that we can provide these professional developments for families. In regards to the late fees on the copiers that we received here at the school, AIC Carrie has been working with the vendor to get a lot of the fees removed, but unfortunately, this was the best she was able to do.
So it was just kind of a matter of we didn't get a chance to pay the bills on time, but I'm sure we're in front of that moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank Ms. Moore. Again, repetitive, but thank you for the concise, precise, and straightforward information. I think this benefits not only our LSC, but our whole community. Moving forward, our FOT report. Oh, Michael, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry, just one last thing. As part of the update, I didn't see a account breakdown of like balances or budget or anything. I did have some follow-up questions. I can take those offline with you since they didn't directly relate to the principal report. But is that something that you'd be able to post in the folder in the coming days?
Let me just make sure I understand. We did upload the internal checking account. Is there something else you're requiring?
It's in the drive, Michael.
Okay, I must have missed it. I didn't.
Okay.
I'll check again. Okay, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. So now it's our Friends of Tubman report. I see Patty.
For some reason, I'm sideways. So was it showing sideways for you guys? It wasn't? Wait, I'll do it one more time. If not, I won't be on. Yeah, see, I'm sideways. Really? Not sideways for you guys? Okay. If you say so, but you guys better not be joking right now. The fundraiser that we are requesting approval for this time is the annual I Heart Tubman Pledge Drive, which would be starting in January 30th to February 17th. It's the second major fundraiser of the school year for FOT. Families will be asked to pledge any amount if they are able to. Monthly recurring payments will be available as always. The purpose is to raise funds for Tubman's strategic plan for fundraising. FOT, as always, will continue to be sensitive to the community's hardships and will work on ways to incentivize that don't only reward donation amounts. Example, students will be able to submit letters of why they love their school, how we did that last year. We'll probably do the pledge drive wheel, where students will be able to come down and spin the wheel if they've submitted a heart, and they can win prizes from the incentive wheel. And then this year, our board discussed doing an all-day dance-off on the final day, February 17th, kind of celebrating what we've raised in the school gym, to be discussed with Mr. Oni and staff, but similar kind of time frame as how we did the fun run. So the same amount of time, the kids would be able to come down and do probably like some kind of glow in the dark dance theme, just make it more fun. And instead of just, the just straight out ask for money, we're trying to kick it up a little, make it a little bit more fun. So our goal is to raise anywhere between $40,000 to $60,000, and that's it.
Thank you, Patty. Any discussion about the fundraiser? So I motion to approve the annual I Heart Tubman Pledge Drive proposed by Friends of Tubman.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. So the annual I Heart Tubman Pledge is approved. Thank you, FOT.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you also for all the hard work for our Wonderland Wishes activity, which was our first as a family, and it was amazing. So thank you so much to Friends of Tubman for putting that together for our community.
Thank you.
Our next item in the agenda is review and vote of budget and requested or budget transfer requests, if applicable. And before the meeting, I reached out to AIC Carrie, and she confirmed that there was no request for transfer related to budgets for this meeting. I included it in the agenda just in case. So since there's none, we can move to our next point in the agenda, which is the discussion, nomination, and vote on vice chairperson position. This was included in the agenda because, well, as of now, we don't have a vice chairperson, and I think that it's an important role and position to fill because, as you all know, this is the person who would fill in or preside the LSC meetings in case this chairperson, in case I couldn't be present. So I was very interested in filling this position just in case, because you never know. And I wouldn't want to, since we're going to enter in lots of important committees, important discussions, I wouldn't want those to be paused or, for them to take longer because a meeting could not be held or a decision couldn't be made. So I wanted I feel it's important for our council to have that position filled. Having said that, is there any other discussion about this before? Okay, so I am going to present a motion to nominate Sarah Ogueto as our vice chairperson. Sarah, you would have to accept before. I learned that.
I accept. I'm humbled and honored. Thank you, Leanna.
Any? Cynthia?
I second.
Thank you, Cynthia. Any further discussion, additional nomination?
Was
We
also
vote.
going to nominate Sarah, so
Thank you. So we vote on the vice chairperson position on the nomination of Sarah Ogueto as our vice chairperson. Cynthia,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Ms. Holbert,
yes.
Michael,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
and it's Sarah. You can vote. Sarah,
Yes.
and it's a yes for me too. So, Sarah, thank you for accepting this. She is now our vice chairperson. Thank you, Sarah, again. Our next point is to vote to establish and reestablish committees. We had this discussion on our previous regular meeting about the creation of the new committees, etc., but we didn't vote on the creation per se or the reestablishing of them. So now what we have to do is vote on the creation. The composition of the committees per se, we don't have to do them tonight on this meeting. We can discuss it further one-on-one. And it's open to it. The committees have to be chaired by a member of the LSC, but it's open to everyone in our community. And my hope, and I know it's the hope of all my fellow council members, is that members of our community get involved in all these committees. Because everything discussed here, and as you know, it's been always my thing, it's going to be open to everyone, presented very straightforward. And we would love to know input from our community members. So you don't have to be part of the LSC to be part of the committees. Having said that, I motion to reestablish the Communication and Engagement Committee in our LSC. Any discussion about this? Although we already discussed it, but just in case I have to comply with the discussion part. Does anyone second the reestablishing of the Communication and Engagement Committee?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. We vote. Cynthia,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Ms. Holbert,
Yes.
May,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and it's a yes from me too. The second one is the Equity Committee. Is to vote to reestablish. I motion to reestablish the Equity Committee. Any discussion about this?
Yes. I feel like isn't equity sort of within all of these committees? I guess my main takeaway is there's too many committees.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if there was, you said that maybe this is not the right time for this discussion, but if we're voting on them, I just feel like, is there a way to merge some, like equity, inclusive education, obviously is more specific to diverse learners, but obviously has equity really closely tied to that, as does, G. So I just wonder, equity to me seems like it's just in everything that we are, trying to do each day and through this LSC. So just because I know people's time is limited, just feels like that's a lot of committees in my opinion, but.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Holbert. We talked a little bit about this when we discussed the creation of new committees. Michael, I see your hand raised. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, sure. So I just want to kind of echo those feelings. The committees, I don't have all of them right in front of me because I keep jumping back and forth on my phone. But I think of the whatever there are, 3 or 4 of them, they all seem, in my mind, to roll up into equity. And I don't, unless there's like an explicit reason or impediment that rolling them all together has, I don't see a reason why all of those issues can't be discussed, with the community, with people that are interested in it, under one umbrella, because that would simplify communication back to the LSC. I also think that would be a better use of time. I don't think that would take anything away unless, someone has some other thoughts on it.
Thank you, Michael. Sarah?
Yeah, I know that this discussion, I just wanted to, this discussion was had in the previous meeting, Ileana, as you mentioned before, when we were talking about the committee work. There are, we have, committees that we know have to be in place. The CIWP committee, the Principal Evaluation Committee, and the Budget Committee. Those are, I feel like, functional committees of the LSC and exist irregardless of these additional committees, which include community engagement, equity, the TIES committee, as well as the LGBTQI committee. Those are kind of more, I would say, the newer committees that are very unique to, I think, the Tubman LSC. With that said, I do see the sense of, being able to see, how TIES and the LGBTQI committee, as well as the equity committee, have some alignment in that regard. As I remember from the discussion, there was talk about, who's going to lead them, and do we have do we have an audience, of families and other key stakeholders to shepherd the work moving forward. And there was some very clear conversations about, yes, there is investment for this work in a sense. I will say more specifically for the equity committee, I think what's key is this idea of how we apply the equity lens to all, and I agree with the sentiment that has been shared. I know that there's a theory there, right? But it's about, that practice, and then kind of, creating and building those supports about how we use that lens in all the work as well too. So, the vision and the idea of the equity committee is really, of course, to advocate and support and to provide some insights around, what are some issues that are kind of bubbling up that we're not keen on, as a school committee, that the equity committee can certainly address, that are above and beyond, kind of these other committees that we're arguing should be tied underneath the TIES and the LGBTQI work as well too. So just wanted to kind of bring forward some of that historic conversation, but then also provide a little bit of clarity around the impetus around the equity committee, and yes, agreeing that it does support some of this work that we see here, but then also acknowledging that there are some unique functions that exist, in terms of how we use the equity lens and all that we do. It is a practice that we have to be mindful of, and there are courageous conversations we have to have in that work and be mindful of. And so just wanted to bring that forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Cynthia?
I just wanted to add, because I've been doing like most of the volunteer work that I've been doing. Sorry, my computer is telling me to lower my hand. That I've been doing in the library came from the equity committee. I haven't, there hasn't been a meeting since I joined the LSC, and I didn't attend any last year, but I think that the library work that Mr. Laughlin and I have been doing is a really good example of how that equity committee can notice something, which is that our library's collection is out of date and doesn't reflect our student population, and then try to find a way to address it. So that's a committee that I would be happy to be on. But I agree that it's, as Sarah said, it's something that goes through the entire community. It should be, as Emily said, it should be part of everything that we do, but sometimes, we get focused and we can't look out of our own little areas. Thanks.
Thank you, Cynthia. Ms. Colbert, I completely understand, and I know time is a issue, not saying it negatively. But from the discussion we had about this on our previous meeting, my takeaway is like, if we have parents and community members that are interested in pushing these talks and starting these talks about XYZ topic, I think there should be a space, because we can be the way to help them get any communication either with admin or with staff or just to be part of that puzzle to help. For example, for me, like I attend most of the ties committees meetings. They're amazing, and I know that that's a community, that's a group of parents and caregivers that has very specific um, needs, wants, concerns, and that's what they discuss there. My fear, if we join groups, is that those talks either don't happen or don't happen as deep and as specific as they do on those meetings. And I give that example because I attend them. I listen to what they talk there, and it's very specific, and there's very specific issues that have to be worked on, talked about. So although I do understand that there are a lot, uh, I think there's the will, there's the parents that want to be part of them. I know that an LSC member has to be the chair or lead those committees. I am more than willing to jump in and do one that doesn't have a chair, because I really think that those conversations about the different topics and areas should happen, you know? So that's my take. Obviously, this is something we're voting on, so that's how it's gonna happen. But I did want to say that I feel that all the parents, caregivers should have that space, and us as LSC have the opportunity to listen and to help in a way, if we can help, because there's things that we can't do as an LSC. But if we can, maybe lead the way, maybe guide them to who to reach out to, or be part of the team that goes out to work for XYZ issue. So that's my take. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that. So having said that, I again motion to reestablish the equity committee in our LSC. Does anyone second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Cynthia. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Emily? Miss Holbert, sorry.
You can call me Emily. I no longer teach your kids. Yes.
May?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Miss Brooks?
Yes.
And it's a yes from me too. So the equity committee is reestablished in our LSC. The next one would be the ties, the Tubman Inclusive Education Supporters, the ties. I motion to reestablish the ties committee in our LSC. Any discussion about this? I mean, I think we already discussed everything, but any further discussion about the ties committee in particular? So I motion to reestablish the ties education committee. Does anyone second it? Was that you, Sarah?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So we vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me too. So the ties committee is reestablished in our LSC. The next one is the budget committee. I motion to establish the budget committee in our LSC.
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Holbert. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me too. So the budget committee is established in our LSC. The next one is the principal evaluation committee. I motion to establish the principal evaluation committee in our LSC. Anyone second it?
Second.
Thank you, Cynthia. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
Sarah? Was that a yes, Sarah?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me too. Our principal evaluation committee is established in our LSC. Our next committee would be the continuous improvement work plan committee, the CIWP, which is something that's going to happen this year. So I motion to have our CIWP committee established in our LSC. Anyone second it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
May? May?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
So we have established our CIWP committee and our LSC. The next one is the LGBTQIA committee. That's to establish a new committee for our LSC. I motion to establish the LGBTQIA committee.
I second.
Thank you, Cynthia. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
So our LSC has established a LGBTQIA committee. Thank you. So we have the communication and engagement, equity, the ties, the budget committee, the principal evaluation committee, our CIWP committee, and the LGBTQIA committee. As I mentioned before, we don't have to establish the formal composition of this committees at this moment, but it's going to be a discussion that we will have on our in the future. Thank you. Our next point of order in our meeting is the public participation. Robert?
Sure thing. We've got one person signed up for today, so I'm going to read the sort of public participation comment and then hand it over to them. So members of the public are welcome to make comments and ask questions, but must sign in to participate. The public is called upon to speak in the order they sign in. The public is kindly requested to limit their comments and questions to 3 minutes. Based on the comments or questions, the principal may address some concerns directly, and if necessary, create an action step for the LSC to follow up with the involved parties at a future date. While the LSC will do its best to address any comments or questions, when necessary, more time may be needed to adequately address a particular concern. The individual that signed up today is Jessica Ittner, so I will hand it over to them to speak.
Thank you. Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak to our community tonight. My name is Jessica, and I'm the parent of a 5th grader at Tubman and a member of the Tubman Inclusive Education Supporters Group. I'd like to speak tonight about the current absence of an occupational therapist on Tubman's clinical team. Our previous OT resigned from her role in CPS in late September of this year. We have heard from our case manager that there are subs for evaluations and IEP meetings, but as far as I know, children assigned OT minutes in their IEPs are not getting the legally mandated minutes. The update for my child's OT goals on her last IEP report card was blank. IEPs are legal documents, and these minutes are required to give children who need them access to their public education. To be clear, our school and our school's administration are not responsible for hiring an OT. The responsible to hire clinician falls on central office and CPS. As a parent of a child with legally mandated OT minutes, I would appreciate an update if one is available. I am willing to call or email central office if this would encourage CPS to expedite hiring. I appreciate the update that my child will receive compensatory services, but if this means extra minutes with our new OT, I see a few issues that are becoming insurmountable as more time passes. How will a clinician with an overwhelming caseload, as unfortunately seems to be the norm with CPS clinicians, provide additional minutes to each child who legally deserves them. With the remaining time, I will echo Gia's statement in the comment section. The ISBE investigation of 2017 to 2018 put CPS under state monitoring, in my understanding, as there were egregious denials of supports for diverse learners that are mandated under federal law. My daughter included. She was denied an IEP by CPS Central Office before she started at Tubman. Many schools have committees specifically for diverse learners. We are not the only school. We have monthly meetings that are well attended. Thank you for your time, and thank you to our amazing special education staff and clinician team for your hard work. We appreciate your dedication to making sure all of our students are learning. Thank you.
Robert, there's no one else signed up.
No, that was it.
Thank you, Jessica. Our next point on the agenda is going into a closed session to discuss principal evaluation, specifically discussion about a final summary to be presented regarding this. For this discussion, the council has to go into a closed session. Sarah?
I'm sorry, I don't remember the protocol and how we respond to public participation, but I just at least wanted to acknowledge and thank Jessica Eitner for her share on just highlighting the gaps of supports for our learners who need OTs, and just curious about how we can help to advocate for that and central office level. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. We are going to reach out to central office, and I know Chief Asaf is in this call, so she was able to hear Jessica and the situation about the OT, but we will be working with central office regarding this situation and to be able to provide an update about the OT. So we now have to move into a closed session to discuss, as I mentioned, principal evaluation, a final summary that we are going to be voting on submitting. For that, the council has to go into a closed session. So I motion to go into a closed session for the discussion of the final summary.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Holbert. We vote Cynthia.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Ms. Holbert.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Ms. Brooks.
Yes.
And it's a yes for me too. So we have voted to go into closed session. Before we do that, there was for the council members, you should have received the invitation to join the other link. Remember, we have to get off this meeting to go into the other one and then come back to this link when we come back to vote on the final summary. To all the community that's here with us, we will update on the Facebook Bulldog page when we come back from the closed session. Also, for the sake of the record, our student representative is not included in that closed session because student representatives are not part of the discussion or voting of principal evaluation matters. I would also want to extend the invitation to join our closed session to Chief Asaf. I don't know if she would be available to do that, but I extend the invitation. I will be sending the link to you, Chief.
I am available. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chief Asaf. I'll send you the link now. So I am going to go into the other Google Meet now. Ms. Holbert, I think you can stop recording this and let's close this. Thank you. We have to wait for, we have Robert, Michael, Ms. Brooks, Emily, we have Sarah. Ms. Brooks. Thank you, Ms. Holbert. Okay, I think we have all of us who can vote. Ms. Halbert, if you can start recording. I don't know if Mr. Beck is recording too. Oh, there we go.
I got it. I'm sorry. I'm doing too many things at once.
Don't worry, Ms. Halbert. Thank you so much. So we are back on an open session on our regular LSC meeting for December 7th, 2022. Now, our next point in the agenda is the voting on the principal evaluation final summative as disclosed in our closed session by our council members. I motion to approve the principal evaluation final summary as discussed. Anyone second it?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you. We vote. Ms. Holbert,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and it's a yes from me too. So the final summative discussed is approved, and it's going to be submitted in the PEOT system regarding the principal evaluation for school year 2021-22. Our next point in the agenda is public participation. Robert, is there anyone else signed up?
Nope.
There is no other community or parent or caregiver member for public participation. Our next item would be action items or next steps. I would like to include as an action item a next step, the discussion of the composition of the committees that we approved today, particularly the chairs of each committee. Any other action item and next steps?
I know this is going to happen, but just to submit the final summative.
Okay. That could be the first one.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So it could be like in order.
Sure. Submit the final submitted. And then I also have, and I don't know if this was actually something that was requested, but I did have a note in here about sharing the proposal for the fine grant for the fine arts grant.
Fine arts grant, yes. That was mentioned by Michael, and I think it should be included also as an action item in next step.
Okay.
I would also include there an update on the OT situation presented by parent Jessica and the public participation part. Mm-hmm. So request admin an update on the OT situation. Any other action items or next steps? Michael?
I had a few budget items that I wanted to go through. Do you want me to list them explicitly, or can we just say like budget items?
We can let's say budget items, and then we can discuss them in depth because maybe we have the information. But if not, let's include those budget discussions of the topics you say.
Okay.
So tell Sarah.
Oh, sorry. So list them. Okay. I wanted to clarify on the copy leases about maintenance, about if that should be included in part of the lease contract, and if there's something broader that can be done with CPS for cost savings, etc. I did have a question about accessibility of classroom fees and student fees. I noticed I didn't see the budget, or sorry, I didn't see the account balances for this most recent meeting, but I know in previous meetings that showed a pretty large amount available from past years. So I wanted to get some clarification on what the plan is with that money, what the plan is with the fundraising money from Friends of Tubman in regards to the budget. And I think that's it for now.
Thank you, Michael. I would also like to include as an action item. Sarah, are you there? I would like to include as an action item or next step to receive, if possible, an update on the work the restorative justice coordinator has been doing in our school.
Related to that, possibly related to that, I have been hearing from my son about discipline problems with the bathrooms on the third floor. Just generally people trashing it and putting inappropriate things in the toilet. And I understand there was an assembly today. I would just wonder if that's something that the restorative justice person can address, but it seems to be a fairly big problem. Like the poor janitor is not.
Sarah, I don't know if you missed this about asking for an update about the work the restorative justice is doing in our school, or plans that he has, or what he has been doing.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then we can, in that update, Cynthia, we could ask for that specific information about those incidents. And anything else? So Sarah, could you repeat just to make sure we...
Yeah, and I just had a point of clarity for Michael. I apologize, I got cut off. With the latter points, with the budget, the accessibility of classroom and student fees in the budget, was that separate then from the clarification needed with FOT around fundraising? Or those kind of go hand in hand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess hand in hand, because they're really both just like, what was the budget from last year and how does it map to the money that we have, because we have a lot. And really, I just want to understand, what's kind of earmarked, what's not. For the stuff that's not, is there a plan? And if not, obviously then we have a budget committee, we can figure out a plan. Mm-hmm. But I don't even know where the starting point is, so that's kind of the goal.
Great, thank you. So I'll just read from the top. That steps include submitting the final summative, delineating the composition of the committees with specificity around identifying the chairs of each committee, sharing the fine arts proposal, getting the update on the OT situation, reviewing budget items, more specifically getting clarity on the copy leases, and then just providing some more clarity around the classroom and student fees and that correlation with the fundraising efforts from the FOT. And then lastly, getting the update on the role of the restorative justice coordinator.
Okay. So we have established our action items, next steps. Our next point is the voting to adjourn the meeting. So I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Holbert. We vote. Cynthia?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And it's a yes from me too. So meeting is adjourned at 7:46 p.m. A reminder that our next regular meeting is scheduled for January 11th, 2023. But obviously we can discuss or convene if necessary for other discussions if needed. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the community that's still here. Gia. So have a great night, everyone. I am waiting, just so you know, for the confirmation from the LSC relations in terms of the form we talked about. I will send out an email to all of you once I have like the final say on what's going to happen. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.